All right. Hey, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Beers with Bill welcomes back Dave Soehner, head brewmaster at Elora Brewing. And we're so looking forward to this. So it's all yours, Dave.
Well, welcome, guys. Thanks for coming back. It's a pleasure to be on again. Yeah, it's been a while. Bill reminded me it's been 6 months since the last time, which is kind of crazy. I can't believe that it's been 6 months since then. I can't believe that we've almost been in a lockdown for a year. So kind of wild. But here we are, still drinking beer, so that's good.
Yeah. A lot of things have happened in the last 6 months for you, Dave. Can you sort of bring people up to speed to what's gone on?
Yeah, so we in August my wife gave birth to our second child. So he's 4 months old now. So yeah, two little kids at home, and then we moved. We bought a house and moved about 2-3. No, it was a couple weeks after he was born, like three months ago now. So kind of a busy busy couple months, and now we've started reno. So on top of that, it's yeah, I've never been so busy in my life before, but it's good. Things are good.
You want to talk to us a little bit about the Dortmunder?
Sure, yeah. So this is a neat style. So it's a German lager from the city of Dortmund. Where they were trying to kind of replicate, like as countries did around the world, is replicate the Pilsner, but their water is quite hard. So it kind of accentuates different flavors. It kind of gives you a more firm beer, more like more of a firm mouthfeel, pronounced bitterness, and like just a full beer. And cool thing with that is we don't have to go. We have hard water where we're at in Elora, so we don't have to go too far to kind of match the water profile very closely. So I would say the beer is kind of closer to a Helles in style. For this beer, we didn't. Sometimes we go like all out, like with our Pilsner that we had over the summer. We go all out, and we wanted it to be a Bohemian style Pilsner. So we got all the imported Bohemian malts and Saz hops and all this. With this one, I find it important to find a balance with local ingredients. We grow some of the best barley and malts in the world, or barley and hops in the world. So this one is made with entirely Canadian malts and hops. Or maybe we might have used a touch of German hops in this one, but the malt is from Gambrinus Malting and Armstrong, BC, and they're doing a fabulous job. So we used their Pilsner malt, and then we used somewhere 5-10% Munich malt, and that's when you can kind of gives it like a little bit of color there, a little bit of a darker kind of hue. And just like Munich malt's one of my favorites, and just kind of like that chewy, bready kind of full mouthfeel, and just really happy with it. We used hops primarily growing. There's a hop grower that's just kind of up the road from us in Elora, Can Aussie. Dean, this Aussie guy, has been growing hops up there, and he's doing a great job. We use a lot of his hops, and so he was growing Sterling hops, so we used that, and I think we used a little bit of Saz or something like that, just to kind of play off of each other. But and then our hard water, it just kind of brings out a little more bitterness to it, full body, and kind of herbal. And yeah, we're really happy with it. We've gotten really good feedback on it, and yeah, I think when it first came out, I kept telling people I think it's one of the best beers or the best lagers that we've done. And like huge kudos to the brewing team. I got my guys Andrew and Aiden. They're just killing it, doing a great job. So yeah.
What was your inspiration to do that particular style?
Well, the brewery. So I've been with the brewery for almost a year now. They had done that style before, so the branding was already in place. And when I was kind of looking through the catalog of what the brewery had done, it was time to do another lager, because we're always trying to have, we have a core Three Fields lager, and then we always try to have like a kind of another, usually like a European or some kind of other like nice lager available. So the Pilsner, we're facing the Pilsner. We had the Pilsner on for a while, and then we were time to bring someone else in, and the Pilsner is kind of the exact opposite. Like we brought in water for that because that's a very, very soft and delicate beer. And maybe it's kind of with the seasons changing and that sort of thing, where it's just a winter, a Dortmunder in the winter, just kind of, I feel like it fits. And over my experience, like being at Wellington before this and developing the Helles lager there, we eventually got water treatment there so we could soften the water up. And I found that when it got to a point where this water got so soft that maybe the beer might have been actually more accurately to style, but I think a lot of people preferred the hard water. It just kind of fills out the beer. I find it's changed my mind about a lot of that stuff. And when people say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that because of your water profile, maybe, yeah, you may not be able to make, like, say, that Bohemian Pilsner or something, but you can still make pale lagers. And I think this is a great example of it. This, the Dortmunder is, yeah, it's just a great example of a hard water lager.
So has that changed your mind as well to the styles of beer that you enjoy? Because I know, your nickname Lager Dave. We had the history the last time where that came from, but has that now changed the styles of beer that you are more apt to be doing?
It's definitely changed my outlook on how to get there. And we'll still bring water in sometimes, just because like our water profile is something that, some styles you just can't kind of do. So it's changing how I look at or like what I find is appropriate for a style, because like on paper, if you read the books, a lot of the information says that you can't or you shouldn't do this particular style with this water profile, and we're outside of the ranges. And when I plug the numbers into a water calculator, it goes red and it says this is not going to work. But when I first started at Elora, I faced this problem. It's like, oh, we're looking at introducing some water treatment, but I think there's always a ways around it. A lot of the literature for brewing is kind of older, and it hasn't included a lot of like the newer styles. Like the other beers we're going to drink are like New England style beers, and again with the hard water, and it just kind of it's changed my mind on what I can do in those circumstances. I'm still working on dark beer with that water. I haven't had we don't have a small pilot system, and we're just kind of working on piecing just something little together just so we can try it out, just because I don't want to do our smallest batch size is kind of like 1,000 liters, so it's still a lot of beer to mess up or if we don't do it right. So I've brought in water for some darker beers.
I hear you. It is a risk at times.
Mm-hmm.
So have the style of beer that you enjoy, has that changed over the last year?
I mean, I still like my lagers. I keep my appreciation for hoppy beers is definitely keeps growing, especially with working with different hop suppliers and our local hop growers using Ontario hops. So just definitely, I've been drinking a lot more IPA. And yeah, like I think I'm a very seasonal drinker. Like I think that my tastes change with the season, and it's funny because it's not always like I probably drink more. I don't know what it is. I probably drink more dark beer in the summer than in the winter. I don't know why, but it's just kind of how I what I'm going for. But yeah, so for the most part, I'm still still like, still obviously trying a lot of other breweries stuff, and what I can anyways, because there's not as much getting out, and there's not as much, there's no going to the bar and trying what's on tap or whatnot. But yeah, still kind of still in the same vein, but try to branch out a bit.
So what's been the hardest, the biggest challenge from COVID for you?
Brewing is such a collaborative industry. It's what makes it like probably the best industry in the world. Is like our neighbors down the road. We're not in competition with them. We're friends with them, and we're working with them to make better beer, and because beer drinking is it's not something you want to do alone. Like that's why it's been so hard this last little bit, I'd say, is because we can't see our friends as much, and you still make an effort to, and you have some beers outside or whatever, but I mean it's just not the same. So I'd say that's probably the hardest part, is just not there's been a lot of things that like our staff work really hard, so it's nice to be able to go and hit the road and go visit other breweries and go do some fun stuff, but that just that hasn't really happened, and it's hard. You want to kind of let loose a little bit and go have some fun and see your friends and keep meeting more people. It's such a collaborative industry, and there's things like the Master Brewers where there's events and that sort of thing, and that's where I've met a lot of people through these events, and everything's just on hold. And I mean this is great, but I mean having a beer in person is a completely different thing than online, right?
Oh, absolutely. Graham has an intriguing question. So he's curious, on a 1,000-liter run of beer, in the past, how much would you have bottled versus or canned versus putting into a keg, and how has that changed now?
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing. We've definitely dumped out a lot of kegs. Like when everything kind of hit in February or March or whatever, we there was a lot of beer dumped. A lot of breweries probably all over dump beer. So I think, for an example, I mean, I'm still trying to figure this out too, because we kind of went back to kegs a little bit, and it started picking up a bit, and then it came to almost a complete stop again. So if we're talking, say, for like a one-off beer, say we would do a 2,000-liter batch, it would be kind of a normal batch. Normally we'd probably can about 1,300 liters and keg 700 liters of that. Something coming out of this is we've decided to focus more on our retail canned product over the keg stuff. Like we're still have our good customers, our good bar customers that take draft beer, and we want to keep them, but we're kind of putting less into having people on the road, like someone in Toronto, and trying to sell kegs after this is all over. One part of what that is, when the LCBO or grocery stores receive your beer, you get paid for it right then and there. And I mean, there's a lot of let's say a lot of bar owners and operators aren't as good going and nice people as Bill and Troy. There's a lot of sketchy people who don't pay their bills, and then just bars that just disappear, and then you never see the money. And there's been a lot of breweries have lost money to that sort of thing. So we're kind of focusing more on that, so we can maybe it's not as good as margins, but we're trying to push more volume that way.
That's what makes bars so alluring. That's why we all go to them, because they're a little sketchy.
A little sketchy, exactly, right?
So how has characters hanging out?
Yeah.
How has the changes since the 1st of January had an effect for you guys? I mean, being able, bars being able to sell growlers, has it had an effect?
A little bit. We're working with some bars now to mean kind of just getting them some growlers and stuff like that. Growlers are a funny thing. It's you have to be really careful with growlers, and it's you talk to brewers and they either love them or hate them, kind of thing. Because there's a lot of areas for things to go wrong in the beer to not be treated right and to go bad, and then it's kind of the packaging is now out of your hands, and in the bartender's hands. And you know what, packaging beer is the most like delicate part of brewing. That's the place that's where you're gonna mess it up the most, is because you don't have to introduce, it doesn't have to be exposed to oxygen for long for it to be oxidized, or for it to to lose your aromatics and lose the foam and all that stuff. So growlers it's tricky. I would like to see more, because I know there's people out there that can do it properly. And I think we're just kind of one of our sales guys now is just kind of working with the bars, and he's just kind of going through like how we would on our beer poured off of it. And I think some of them are even looking at crowlers, and crowlers I think are a decent idea too. You can kind of seam it, and then the thing with crowlers are once you open it, you have to finish it. I mean, when you're opening a growler and then finishing it the next day, it's not the same beer anymore.
Yeah. So there's some challenges in that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've talked a little bit about what the biggest challenge is. What's been the best change because of COVID for you?
Yeah, that's I think it's kind of made us open up our eyes about where that direction I was telling you about with cans versus keg beer. It's kind of opened up our eyes with which direction we want to head with that. I just ate a bunch of onions and garlic, and I didn't have to brush my teeth before this talk. That's something, right? No, yeah, I mean, it's made us all really eager to get back, and I have a lot of obviously a lot of brewer friends, people in the bar industry. I also have a lot of musician friends, and we keep talking, even though places are closing down. I think it's going to come back stronger than ever, and I'm really hoping for that. And I just I can't wait. And we're on a I guess we're just we're making the best of it. When people stop by, we're just having beers out back and that sort of thing. And maybe it's cold or whatnot, but whatever. There's no bad weather, right? There's only bad clothing. So we've been doing more of that. Just kind of when people stop by or stopping by somewhere else, just have a beer out back or something like that, and just trying to make the best of it. And then when we come back stronger than we were before.
Graham flipped out another question to us. Wants to know if there's been any technology innovations that have helped with packaging.
That helped with packaging?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the technology of the canning lines has really improved. So they're able to, just package more quickly, introducing less oxygen. There's really fancy equipment. Some of these pieces of equipment cost more than most of our cars. And they read the beer, they tell you what the CO2 is at, what the dissolved oxygen is at. And that's just like really good feedback to have. So you can when you're running your cane line, for example, you monitor it. And then if one of your fill heads is higher, then you make some adjustments until you get that lower, because it's something that it's hard to you can't see it. And all of a sudden it's out there, and the beer might taste fine for a little bit, but then it just starts to age quite a bit more rapidly.
Yeah. What's the second beer we're going to taste tonight?
Yeah, so why don't we go for the Borealis?
Okay.
Crack that now. Yeah, so last time we did, I think it was right near the start, so we picked like 6 beers and we got through 3 of them or something like that. So I just picked 3 for this time and wanted to throw in a couple more of our flagships this time, and since we missed them last time, and so this beer has been around as old as the brewery, Elora Borealis, and it's a New England style pale ale, and we call it a Citra Pale Ale. Although I'll let you know a little secret. We put some Galaxy in it too. We found that and they were doing it before me. The Citras can be kind of a harsh hop sometimes. It's a really nice hop, but it can come across really harsh. We kind of wanted to kind of cut it with another hop that we really like. Galaxy is one of my favorite hops. I'd say it's such a wonderful hop, and so yeah, we've been really happy with how this beer is coming out. So obviously it's quite hazy, and it's all about the dry hop in this one. Is kind of what the main characters come from. We do a lot of oats and wheat in it to kind of give that kind of big mouth feel, that creaminess, help with the haze by adding protein to the beer, and yeah, big Citra, double dry hopped with Citra and Galaxy, and yeah, this beer is our number 1 flagship core brand, and it's definitely our leading beer for what we sell the most of.
Bell has a couple interesting questions for you. Wonders what your take is on restaurant and bars wanting to have wholesale pricing so that they can compete with the LCBO.
Like as in selling our packaged product out of it?
Yeah. So they're wondering about, like right now, bars and restaurants tend to pay the same price as we pay at the LCBO within a small percentage.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't deal a lot with that, but I mean, I would love to see a more move away from or keep moving in the direction that it's heading, and giving bar owners or shops the ability to sell and to compete, because I mean the LCBO is, I mean, it's good for a lot of things, but I mean there's a lot of beer being made, and a lot of it is not available through the LCBO, and it's hard to have a beer available through the LCBO. You have to it's constant kind of competition and of shelf space, and then also there's a lot of logistical things with it too, like keeping you ship your beer to the LCBO and it just is sitting warm until they put it on their shelf, and it's sitting warm on their shelf, so it doesn't age well, especially a beer like the beer we're drinking now. It's like it's a great beer, and it's but it doesn't want to sit warm on a shelf for too long. So it's it is I'd like to see more of that, because then you can kind of pick and choose who what beers you're selling, and we're seeing a bit more of that now. But yeah, the prices are it's hard to compete when price is a big thing for a lot of people. So I think that'd be great to see that.
And then I'm not sure how you would answer this question. He wants to know, like, if he buys direct from the brewery, do you guys make more than if he purchased it from the LCBO or a bar or restaurant?
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah. So it's like every brewery wants you to buy directly from them is the number one way they're making the best margins.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when we sell through the LCBO, we're paying them to do it, and we're paying like a second party to distribute it to them. Usually, like for like smaller breweries, it's harder to do that. Some bigger breweries, maybe I'm not sure if it's still like that. They might supply them themselves, but we use a company called ProLogics. So we ship them our beer, and then the LCBO orders weekly from them.
So what do you see that's new and exciting in the craft beer industry right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like being a lager fan, a lot more breweries are doing lagers and doing them well because people have been doing them for a while, and I just keep seeing them get better and better, and even like the overall quality is probably one of my number one things. I've never been like on like the big new hot trends, and like the brute IPAs and all, milkshake IPAs and stuff like that. It took me long enough to get onto the New England IPAs probably, but yeah, I'm not a big like big trend follower. That said, we brewed a pastry stout today, so there's that. Because we at the same time we still have to have some fun with it and do some wonky stuff.
So do you think that this trend of craft brewers doing lagers and easy drinking ales is a long-term trend, or is it something that's just gonna like be for a while and go away?
No, I think it's gonna stay around. I mean, it's kind of the full circle from where it kind of all started. There was always good lagers in other parts of the world, primarily and especially in Europe, and then after Prohibition, there's the whole story of most breweries went out of business, and a couple of the big names that we know now took over, and the beer just kept getting more and more watered down, and it just made it's made a bad name for lagers and such in these beers, and when they really are like wonderful, really great beers.
So it's here to stay.
Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. I think over these past, I've been brewing for almost 10 years now, and seen the kind of all these big flavors, with big 100 IBU IPAs, and then big barrel aged stouts, and sour beers as sour as you can make them, and all this stuff. We hit every kind of style along the way, and into our most extreme. Like craft just kind of takes every style and takes it to the extreme, I think. And I think a lot of people's palates, it's exhausting. After a while, a lot of people just want an easy drinking beer. And I think that the proof of that is go and talk to any brewers and have a beer with them, and they're probably 9 times out of 10 they're probably drinking something along those lines. They're probably drinking an easy a lager or a pilsner, or easy drinking ale or something like that, because after drinking so much beer for all these big crazy beers, they just want something that you can sip on and have a few and not worry about it.
Yeah, Robert Shortfinger always said that. He says, I just want to come in and have like 2 or 3 easy drinking beers, lower alcohol, so I can enjoy them and then I can go home. So.
Absolutely, and every brewer I know, that when you stop by, and a lot of times they don't even ask you what you want, they just pour their lager off tap, and for everyone, and because I mean there's only so many there's only so much like these big flavored beers that you can drink.
I totally understand that. Graham wants to know what your dark lager's called.
What are dark lagers called?
Yeah.
Which one is he referring to?
Do you have a dark lager?
Oh, so right now I was going to suggest this beer for this, but we were just about running out, so I didn't want to put it out there. But a couple months ago we did a collaboration with Elora Bread, and it was a German porter, we call this. It was like the Germans' take on the English porter. So they just very brewed in a very German way, and we actually ended up using lager yeast on it because the ale yeast we wanted for it, we didn't get a good crop off of it. So it was just a clean drinking beer, but it ended up, nobody really knows that, but it ended up being more so like kind of like a dark lager. But we have I'm just working on the Dunkel recipe. We're gonna brew it in about 2 weeks, and it's gonna be in tank for about 6 weeks. So in about 2 months, look out for our Dunkel coming out.
What's next for Elora Brewing?
Yeah, like style wise.
What's coming down the pipeline at us? What are they doing? I mean, we're in a lockdown right now. It's becoming more of a severe lockdown, but what's going to happen as we move into the spring?
Yeah, good question. I think we're kind of asking ourselves the same thing, but we're trying to push, and I guess the thing is, well, yeah, with less and less keg volume, we're trying to do more one-offs, just kind of smaller volumes of them. So just a lot more. You should see a lot more new beers coming out from us. So on Friday, we're releasing dry hopped saison that's tasting really nice. Some trial hops from that we partnered with BSG on. Kind of some new varieties of like a German kind of noble hops, and they're kind of like spicy, kind of herbal. So that's coming out. That's it's gonna be really nice. Like I said, today we're brewing a pastry stout. I don't know, it's my first one that I've ever brewed, so we'll see how that goes. It's the plan is it's gonna be amaretto, vanilla, cherry, some 8-9% sweet stout. So that's gonna be something. And then other beers coming down the pipeline. We're just talking today too, just Queen of Craft, if you guys know what that is. We're going to be doing a collab with them for the Queen of Craft events in March, and so we're just kind of working out those details. So, and then yeah, otherwise, I mean, something that happened that was good for us this year is we got a patio, because the brewery had never had a patio before that. So the city kind of there was a big garden out front. They just said we could have that, so we did that. So yeah, I think patio season is going to be a big one this year. Seen a lot of that. I kind of missed that. I mean, even just these last couple of weeks, or last little bit, we've been closed. I miss draft beer. Draft beer is a wonderful thing, and it's my preferred way to drink beer when I can. So that'll be nice when we can do that again and see each other and be outside.
That's very true. Troy's curious if you know if the AGCO is going to relax the liquor laws more come patio season, or are they going to stay the same as what we had last year?
You know what? I can't say. I'm hoping that they keep relaxing it more, because I mean, we should be able to go to the park and have a beer, and we should be able to walk down the street and not get in trouble if you had a beer in your hand. And we should take the stigma away from it too, because I mean, the Germans have a word for it. I forget. I can't think of what it is now, but it's the after work beer. And when I was in Munich, you'd see it. You'd go into the bottle shop and you grab a single bottle, and you'd take your bottle and you'd hop on the tram and head home from work with your beer in hand. And like, what's better than that? That's what we're doing when first thing when we get home after a day of work. Anyways, a lot of us, right? So why not be able to do that? It's called what is it? Fast Ben beer or something like that. Something like that. the Germans have a word for that paragraph I just explained, a single word.
Todd's curious as if there's a style or type of beer you haven't brewed that you would like to brew.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, there's a style. I really like wheat beers. I like especially the German Hefeweizen style, and there's and the Weiss beer, and some of these beers when you get them fresh, oh man, it's like a meal in a glass, and they're so nice. And I've done some of those, but I want to brew a Dunkelweizen, so a dark German wheat beer. That's something I've been wanting to do. I just haven't found the right time to do it. So hopefully that's something that we can do this year, because we've kind of been talking about it. We don't have a date to brew it, but that'll be a beer. Because it is a whole different thing brewing wheat beers, and I'm still learning about it. But there's different things you need to do with the mash process. Different temperatures to hit to trigger the yeast to produce the phenolic, like the banana clove flavors, and the Michael Hancock's wheat beer, Denison's and Ceylon's wheat beer. That's a really good example of that style, and I really like that beer, and I'd like to do some more of it.
What's next for Dave?
Got to get this reno done. Yeah, so that's, I don't even know. I'm just trying to get through to the next day kind of right now. So yeah, I just want to keep challenging myself, making better beer, finding just learning about different traditions and ways of doing things and technology and all that stuff.
You want to talk about the shine now?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so shine was the brewery had been messing around with a recipe for a little bit. They kept kind of coming up with an IPA but it would be different variations, new hops. And then right when I started, it got accepted in the LCBO. So we kind of had kind of like pick one version of the recipe that we liked. And so it was one of the first kind of things I worked on when I was there. So it's a New England IPA. So again, it's hazy. This one just a bit more alcohol, 6%, different hops. So this one we're using locally grown Cascade. We're using Mosaic and Simcoe. So a bit of a different hop profile, less of like the upfront like kind of citrus fruity ones, more like a little more dank, a little more melon of that side of the hop. So
kind of like a door number 1, 2, or 3, choosing which version of it you wanted, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So, and we have been kind of messing around with it a little bit, and just kind of it's a new beer. It takes a long time to get like a beer dialed in, like the Borealis. Like a lot of people have been telling me it's kind of it's in a good spot where it is now, but it took a long time, and people's taste change and what people expect changes, and that sort of thing, and also the product changes. So the biggest thing is the hops change. So we noticed when we started getting when they started switching over the newest crop, that we were kind of in with a different end result of the beer. So we've made a bit of tweaks to it, and I think we'll keep kind of pushing it a little bit just to make it the best beer we can. But overall, it's been going over really well, and it's a favorite of a lot of ours. And yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about where your experimental or one-off brewing is headed. Can you maybe talk to us how it is you decide what to try?
Yeah, so a lot of it's pretty simple. It's like we're just sitting around having a beer, and we just kind of, we should try this, try that. I've tried to structure it a bit more with forcing the people within the company to sit down and let's try to plan out the next kind of 3 months. So everything's got to fit together. Everything's got to fit in our lineup and with each other, in the styles that we choose. We're not going to do like 3 Belgian beers in a row. So we're going to, do a Belgian beer, and we're going to try a new IPA, and then we're going to try a dark beer, and just kind of going through all the different styles to keep our, keep the customers happy, and playing this a bit of a seasonality. We have some beers that are going to be kind of reoccurring every year, and I really like that. I like when beers come back every year, because it gives you something to look forward to, and it's going to be there, and it's going to disappear again. So when it's there, enjoy it, because it's gonna it's gonna disappear and not come back for another 10 months or something like that. So
got a couple of questions in the chat line to tackle. Remy, I'd like to know if you're any plans to try a de-alcoholized beer.
We don't have plans to do that. We're gonna try and do some like pretty low alcohol beer. I think the whole like reason is I get the appeal. Yeah, I think we still want to like stay true to like what we do. Like we are like a brewery, and it's the process of taking the alcohol out. Like I haven't had a lot, but I haven't had too many ones that I would drink myself. Probably if I wanted to drink some without alcohol, my personal preference, I'd kind of just go into something altogether. But I think we're gonna try to like successfully do some like 2 to 3% beers, just kind of meet in the middle, where we can like, instead of it being like a full-on like 5% beer or nothing, why can't we meet in the middle and do that? And like rattlers are a great example of that, and stuff. But yeah, so I think we want to try like kind of like some like a micro kind of IPA, or some other kind of like some like bitters or stuff like that, and just kind of see how low we can get the alcohol without losing too much of the body. But I think we might be onto something. Definitely, obviously, water chemistry plays into a lot of this stuff, and I think we can kind of fill out the body with less alcohol with kind of really hard water. So that's something we're going to experiment with, and see if we can have a light tasting beer taste, kind of still taste like it's a regular kind of beer.
Graham is curious. He puts it this way: will a Dunkel taste different from a can to a bottle to draft after you've got it in a glass?
Yeah, like beer it's amazing how beer is different. The same batch going into cans versus sitting in a keg. There's a lot of different things that are going on. Like where is it sitting, and how much is it moving? That's a big thing that like kind of doesn't get overlooked. Like the more a beer gets shaken up, the more it's gonna not say introduce oxygen because it's in the package, but it's gonna disturb it. And so like a keg is probably the best way to have a beer, there's less oxygen on filling it, and it, you know, probably doesn't get moved around as much, or the effects are less when you move it around a bit. So yeah, the same beer in a can versus keg. Probably the biggest thing is, like, on canning, you're probably introducing 20, 30 parts per billion of oxygen. And that's going to make a big difference down the road. That tiny little bit of oxygen is going to make a little bit of difference. It's going to, for me, you know, some people say they get cardboard. It kind of dries it out for me. And I get like kind of like the papery kind of dryness of it. So yeah, like I said, I take a draft beer any day over a can or bottle.
A bunch of personal questions now. I'm going to start with, what's your favorite style of music?
Oh well, I move all over the place. I've been going back, like, I think like last year I was like, or the last couple of years I've been always just looking for new music and looking to expand what I do. But this past year I've just kind of reflected on the music that I grew up listening to. Got my John Prine shirt on today. Looking back at some artists we lost this past year. We lost John to COVID, which is pretty crappy. I play guitar too and some other instruments, so it's kind of obviously has an effect on what I listen to. But yeah, so I'll go from, you know, like anything in that vein, like the folk country, bluegrass, but then also I've been getting back into probably more like rock and grunge than I have since I was in high school. Like, I've been on a big Pearl Jam kick, big Soundgarden, and even more so Chris Cornell kick. He's probably one of my my favorite artists to listen to right now. He's just got such a range, and such a his acoustic stuff is incredible. He does so much cool stuff, and just probably the best voice in rock and roll. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Oh, thank you. That's good. And you've had a lot of changes over the last year. How do you stay grounded?
Beer helps. Yeah, I pretty much every night I walk my dog, and I find if I don't do that, I'm not as well off. That's kind of it for me. I just take the dog out and kind of unwind at the end of the day. And lately it's like, I can't. I mean, I could complain with things that are going with COVID, but I won't, because overall, like, I've got it pretty good. So I shouldn't complain at all. But, you know, things still build up, and I'm probably realize I'm more of what's the word I'm looking for? Like a external kind of person. I feed off of other people, and I notice that. So when I don't have that, I'm just kind of I'm looking for it. So that's my thing, is having something to do too, and keep me from being alone with my own thoughts.
We have that. I have a neighbor who spends all his time calling the bylaw branch of the city, complaining about all the neighbors on the street. It's interesting.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is he calling about you or what?
Oh, I've been the butt end of it a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I neglected to post my building permit for my shed. And so I got the new bylaw enforcement officer showing up because I had built an illegal shed. The previous one had told me I needed to build the shed because the one I had was illegal.
So that's an art studio. That's not a shed.
You know what? It seems like you always got that one neighbor, right? So far we're pretty lucky here. I've met all my neighbors and they're all nice, and I'm just kind of like, where's that one asshole? Because all my life, like everywhere I've lived, there's been that one person that has nothing better to do than cause some trouble. So
Don't complain about the neighbor's shed. What's been sitting on their roof for 3 years?
So Dave, if you could travel back in time, what single piece of advice would you give your younger self?
oh geez, yeah, that's a tough one. Probably it's just beer. I've spent a lot of nights worrying about things I probably didn't need to worry about, and in the end, I'm proud of like the things we've done and the quality and of our beers and stuff like that. But in the end, yeah, it's just beer, and just turning it off when you go home. And I'm pretty lucky where I'm able to do that most of the time. Being more of a management role now, it's you always have something on your mind, but just being able to turn it off, and then it being family time when you get home, I think is the most important thing. Because I think for me, I'm not a great multitasker. So if I have something on my mind, I think it's pretty noticeable in my family. My wife can can tell pretty easily. So she's like, "What's going on?" I'm just like, "I'm just thinking through something in my head here," and it can wait. But it can wait till tomorrow. But sometimes it's hard to tell yourself that.
Yeah, wives are good for things like that.
Yeah, right.
So don't sweat the small shit's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started at Wellington, there's a lot of manual stuff. Like the coolings on the tank were manual. So sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and like, did I turn that cooling off? You just be sitting there 2 a.m. texting somebody or whatnot, and just yeah, definitely yeah, nice to taught me to just put some procedures in place so you can kind of, all right, this is how it's done, and then don't forget to do this at the end of the day, and go home and enjoy, have a beer, don't think about it.
Yeah, there's nothing like getting all the way home and going, did I shut that tap off?
Yeah, no doubt. How many times do you turn around too, right? And go back.
Oh, I've done that a couple times. I understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there was one thing you would like all of us to take away from our tasting and chat tonight, David, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just great to have the conversation. I think it's good to ask questions. Maybe one thing I said, one of the biggest challenges is, I mean, we kind of talked about it a bit, but like one thing that no brewer can get away from is time. So always check the date codes on the bottoms of your cans when you're buying them, right? Especially it's hoppy beer. And so that's something, if I'm going to the LCBO or whatever, I'm not going to buy a specific beer. I'm going to buy the freshest beer. So it's something that none of us are immune to. Like we're all going to suffer. We're all suffer the consequences of this beer aging. And so, you kind of get to know like who does it, who does the best. And it's obviously, I think it's something we've done fairly well, but we can always improve on. It can be hard with the confines that we do. Like I got to fill a tank and empty a tank, and if the beer doesn't sell as fast as we thought it would, it might end up sitting around a bit longer. So don't ever be afraid to reach out to brewers and ask them questions like that, or ask them if if they like, for example, we don't put a best before date on our beer, we put a package date on it. So kind of educating yourself on what are some typical shelf lives of a beer. So a hoppy beer, after 3 or 4 months, it's not the same beer anymore, versus maybe a lot of like a lager or something like that. It may be totally fine. So yeah, ask questions, and it's good to know your brewers, and if you can if they're accessible to talk to you, like, I don't know, I'm always more than happy to talk to anyone who's got questions about our beer.
Dave, I want to thank you for being on Beers with Bill. It's always a pleasure having you on, and we always learn something interesting and new when you're there. So thank you. Appreciate you taking time out of your life to share with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's once again, it's been a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. And a couple of things. Next week is Aaron Broadfoot from Little Beasts. However, if you are planning on ordering for me to pick up, unfortunately, you are going to have to order tonight, because I am going down tomorrow, because I have been told by the government, because I called and checked, that I am not allowed to go that far to pick up beer. And so I will be picking up the orders tomorrow. I'll be blasting out an email after this to let everybody know, remind them. And I will also be sending out an email later this week. Troy is going to do an armchair travelogue with my wife at the Woodstock Public Library, and I will be sending out the access to the link for everybody. I know Graham's got it already. So thank you, everybody. Again, Dave, appreciate you spending time and talking to us. And
thanks so much, guys. It's been